I think the problem is we're trying to break complex B2B offering down into bite-sized pieces, which is where the problem is. The vast majority of customers I work with every single day, they're still just trying to get their data warehousing right. This is a big problem, whether it's MongoDB, whether it's Snowflake, whether it's AWS, Azure, GBQ, the list can go on and on and on. So it might seem to people who don't do this for a living that like, man, Palantir, it's not going great. It actually kind of is going great. There are very few companies on earth in the Fortune 500 who even prepared to do the high level depth of analysis that they need to do because they're still fixing their data. The number one problem I have on every engagement that I get brought into, my data is bad. I need to append better data. I need to pay to bring consultants in from PwC, Azure, Deloitte, etc., is to fix data. Most of these folks are still standing their databases up. Once we get past this initial stand-up, then the bonanza of analytics happens. It may not be Palantir. I think it could be. And based on the most,
how long do you think that's going to take?
We're almost there. We're getting there. I mean, keep in mind, like this entire world of cloud is less than 10 years old at scale, right? So we went from like on-prem servers, then we went to virtual machines. Now we're talking true cloud built on architecture. But the problem is lots of businesses, I'm telling you this firsthand, are still operating on legacy systems in their closets. And the problem for a lot of modern analytics tools is they can't work with that. This is where a full-blown solution like this comes in. I'll just say this. When I was working on Watson and Cognos at IBM, we spent billions and billions to make it right. And guess what happened? It wasn't right because it was such a big problem. This approach of like, I guess Palantir's not doing a good job. Hey, sorry. What are we basing this information on? Solving the most complex problems on Earth, guys. On Earth. This isn't about storing boxes in a closet and organizing them by alphabet in a data warehouse. This is about 30, 40, 50, 1,000 data points that have to use complex algorithms that need to learn over time to get better. That's why, for me, it's a long play, and I can see the future. And the fact that people are already talking about the fact that it's best in class for what it does, that's the exciting thing here.
Chris, your thoughts on anything Sean's just spit right now?
No, I agree. But like I said, it just goes, to me, it always goes back to go to market, right? Whenever I look at any software that I've ever worked with, one of the reasons why we adopt it is because we get to try it, we get to sandbox it. I love Tableau. Tableau is probably one of my favorite pieces of software. Why? Because one, you get to play with it in a sandbox. There's actually a free public version of Tableau out right now. If you have no idea what Tableau is, literally you can go to YouTube. There's all sorts of ways that you can do it. You can actually go download the product, get a couple of spreadsheets, get a couple of data endpoints, plug them in, and you're good to go. And you get to learn and you get to develop it. My biggest complaint right now.
That's not solving cancer research with AI. No,
all right. Just bear with me on 1 second here. Before we start saying let's solve cancer with Palantir, let's get people to understand how to use Palantir. Okay, because if no one knows how to use it, to get it to the point where people are actually going to be able to solve cancer, then guess what? It's just a giant piece of...
Don't you think that's a solvable problem? Like, the thing that solves the cancer is harder than the thing that gets people to even learn about the thing.
No. I'm telling you right now...
Sales and marketing is an easier challenge than actually building the thing?
It normally, 100%, I agree, yes. But guess what? The leadership's not doing it. And if the leadership's not doing it, then that's where you have to fault the company. Why aren't they doing it? You're right. Sales and marketing, you could ratchet up, turn up very quickly unless your product is super heavily complicated, and which is one of the problems maybe Palantir has. Their product is overly complicated to the point where, maybe the people that they're selling to, it's hard. I don't understand it, right? I think that they should have more emphasis on sales and marketing and try to mass market their product. But guess what? They don't do that. And because they don't do it, their competitors are out here right now trying to grab as much market share and then guess what? Build on top of it.
Chris, who's their competitor? Yeah. Who's their competitor that's beating them?
What do you mean?
Who's Palantir's closest?
So I would say Palantir has zero competitors for its main thick product, but there's smaller parts of what Palantir is doing, right? That other companies are replicating. And it's all over the industry, right? So it's not just one or two things. I'm not saying Snowflake is the end all be all competitor of Palantir, but there are other companies out there that are doing similar things in smaller bites that right now, and that's the other thing too. Go to Snowflake Ventures. Look at all the companies that they're working with, whether that be Data IQ, Data Robot, right? There's so many companies that have that. The other one that's I keep hearing about that everyone loves, Domino Labs. That's another one that people are using. So guess what? At the end of the day, other competitors will create products, and guess what? Maybe one day, the bigger companies will buy it. Like look at Snowflake right now. Snowflake bought Streamlit, right? They bought Streamlit so that this way now you can actually make applications in Snowflake rather than having the data go outside and come back in, right? There's so many like little things that they're improving from a technology standpoint where smaller companies are making it that can replicate some of the features that Palantir has, that eventually they could actually outcompete on Palantir, right? So that's my point. If you think right now what Palantir is doing and only they can do it for whatever reason, that's just a matter of time before other people figure out that there's value to be had and they create it, whether that's through organically developing the technology themselves or buying a smaller company that's going to enable you to do that,
Sean, any thoughts on his specific concern about go-to-market? Because it seems like that's just the debate, right? If the go-to-market is solved, Chris is fine with it.
My concern with Palantir in general is the time it's taking to go to market. But what I would really argue with is that all the folks you're naming, I don't see them in any of the accounts that I'm working on. None of them. None. Zero. I'm talking zero. But the reason is it's because no one's adopting this stuff yet. They're ready to, they want to, but they have to solve the underlying data issue, which is storage and complexity and querying ability. That's where, like, the Tableau example is fine, but that's a BI tool, right? I've been using Palantir for 20 years. It's a great tool. But like full stop, just because I know Chris and I go back and forth on this, and this is a friendly comment, but the day Palantir will never do B2C. B2C is the worst thing on earth. That's the end of a company. They go B2C, they're out of business. I short that thing to zero and am a billionaire. Facts on camera. They also should not do trials. Absolutely 100% should not offer trials or trial versions of that product. That's a massive enterprise sales mistake. That is for junior companies with inferior app-based products. It doesn't mean that they can't eventually come up with a product that is app-based, light, and cloud-centric. But the versions of the product they have now, and guys, I'm not trying to like drop a lesson here, but I led sales at IBM and then another company, now another company. Okay, like you cannot sell enterprise sales 5 licenses at a time. You have to build interest in the solution and then groundswell in the development, and then you sell the entire 5-year deal at one time. There is no such thing as doing big deals for $1,800 at a time. It doesn't work. It'll never work. Then it takes 2 years to stand it up. That's the model of a Palantir, and I don't work there, guys. Full transparency. The model of it is we find use cases, we find 6-month pilots or POCs. A POC is a proof of concept. This is where they actually connect it to the data systems, data warehouses, and build something predetermined and typically contracted. Then, if it's successful, they will execute on a contract. That's why you see sort of some of the numbers that are coming out of Palantir. The issue is that we're just talking about technology that's in the very, very early stages of what it's going to be and what it's going to do. But I think, ironically here, we're all saying a little bit of the same thing, but it comes across like we're not. Chris sees a near-term opportunity in his vision for what he's doing, and I think it's awesome that he's doing it. I have a slightly different approach. I think maybe the better question I would ask Chris, and Sachin, sorry, I keep cutting you off, I think. I can't tell. But the bigger question is, like, why Snowflake but not Google or Amazon? And then if not Palantir, why not Data Robot? Like, I guess probably what people are confused on, Chris, and maybe I'm wrong. I think maybe the confusion is like they're not in the direct same space and they're complementary to each other. So like it's not like you said, hey, I thought it was going to be Palantir, but now I think it's going to be C3 or whatever. So I'd be curious what your take is on that.